Occupying Till He Comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries.
Welcome, friends. This is Dane Rome, your announcer for today's Last Days Beacon program. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining us. Just a reminder that these programs are supported by your gifts to this ministry. If you would like to contribute to this ongoing faith ministry, which deals with Bible prophecy and current events, simply go to our website to contribute. Our website address is www.swpm.us. You'll find a donate link on the homepage. The website address again is www.swpm.us. Thanks for your prayers and support for this faith ministry. On today's program, Dr. Schnitger will be speaking with Doc Marquis about his brand new book, The Final Rapture. In this fascinating book, Doc reveals the definition of a biblical rapture and gives examples of raptures in both the Old and New Testament. While building on that understanding, Doc settles once and for all the question as to the time of the rapture. You'll find these discussions to be very informative and encouraging. So let's listen in as Dave Schnitger speaks with Doc Marquis about the final rapture.
I've noticed in recent years the proliferation of what I call TV churches. I'm not referring to shut-ins who watch church services on their TVs, but I'm referring to churches where people go and watch a TV preacher at the central campus. In Oklahoma City, these TV churches are sprouting like toadstools. You can hardly pass a shopping center without seeing a storefront TV church. These usually have digital billboards advertising a half dozen or so service times each weekends. They also have dozens of campuses. There is one TV church in our area that supposedly has something like 80,000 parishioners throughout Oklahoma. Just out of curiosity, my wife and I visited a TV church recently. As soon as we got out of the car, we heard loud music pulsing throughout the parking lot that only got louder as we approached the foyer and then into the auditorium. Well, there was continuous loud music from the worship team, followed by a short topical message over the big screen from the TV preacher. Afterwards, there were a few more loud songs, and we were out in exactly 1 hour. One thing I notice in areas where these TV churches flourish is that the traditional churches with only an 11 o'clock service, how old-fashioned, traditional music, expository sermons, Sunday school classes, etc., are slowly dying. They cannot compete with the new church growth model of these TV churches. Well, I thought I was the only one who made the observation that I just stated. I was encouraged to hear noted author and speaker Paul McGuire state in his book, A Prophecy of the Future of America, that, quote, these other church movements were not built on evangelizing people outside the church, but merely growing their churches through cannibalizing members from other churches. The current megachurch trend in America is not sustainable because the modern megachurch model is built on attracting members from numerous smaller churches. The American megachurch is not built on evangelism and the winning of converts to Jesus Christ. End of quote. After many years of observing the megachurch movement, I'm driven to the same conclusion. It is a great joy and privilege to have Doc Marquis on the program today and for the next 2 weeks to discuss his latest book entitled The Final Rapture. I've had the privilege of getting to know Doc in recent years, having conducted several interviews with him concerning his excellent DVD series entitled The Secrets of the Illuminati. Doc was also very instrumental in the launching of Southwest Prophecy Ministries a couple of years ago. What some of our listeners may not realize is that Doc Marquis is also a first-class Bible scholar and is an ardent defender of the pre-tribulational rapture of the church. As such, he has just finished writing an excellent and unique book entitled The Final Rapture. And of course, I just happen to have a copy with me today. And I would imagine Doc has a copy as well. It's a wonderful book. It has just been published by Charisma House. Doc has a copy, and we have a copy, so we should be in good shape. But this has just been published by a major publisher recently. And so we are going to be talking about this latest book on the program today and for the next 2 weeks. Well, Doc, welcome to the program today.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing great.
And how's your wonderful wife?
She's doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Good.
And Doc is coming to us all the way from the northern Arctic climes of Nebraska. It must be a fairly warm day because he's not dressed in his parka and hoodie.
No, I've just got my thermostat up.
Oh, you've got the thermostat up. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Well, this is our first Skype podcast. I know Doc is a veteran of doing Skype programs for audiences all over the world. But this is our first Skype program, and I'm excited about this. This will give our listeners an opportunity not only to hear you, but to see you as well as we do these programs. Well, before we get into the book, Doc, some of our listeners may not know about your background. So I'd like for you to share with us how you came, first of all, to know the Lord and how you got into this unique ministry that you're involved in.
Well, unique is an understatement, as you all know, but I was raised in an Illuminati family. For those who don't know who or what the Illuminati are, they are the most powerful, subversive, covert organization of witches that's ever existed. You can take their entire belief system and trace it back to ancient Babylon. You know, the Tower of Babel itself, Nimrod, Semiramis, the whole spiel. And at the time, I was a seventh generation Luciferian witch, or a witch in the order of the Illuminati, because my family's background and involvement in this goes all the way back to 1789. So for 20 years, I was going through the ranks like everyone else. I eventually became a master witch who was the head of a number of covens and over 1,000 witches at that point. But one day when I was in the United States Army, among other things. It's a long story, but I was in the Army, okay? This was at the end of the Vietnamese conflict, and I was walking down the road to the PX. I needed to get some supplies when someone else in the medical business, no one I really knew, just an acquaintance more or less. And we struck up a conversation, and about 5-10 minutes later, he had to leave. But before he left, he asked me what I thought was the silliest question on God's earth at that time. He wanted to know if I wanted to go to church with him on Sunday. I mean, could you see me, a Luciferian witch, walking into a Christian church at that point? I mean, the raptures really would have fallen on me. But that started a domino effect for the next 3 years. It seemed no matter where I went, and I mean no matter how far I went, there was some born-again Christian just waiting in the raptures to witness to me. Well, to make, as I said, a very long story short, at the end of those 3 years, I finally understood what the Christians were saying all along. So it was on April 15th, 1979, and I always own up to it. I walked into that Christian church as a sold-out slave of Satan's. But God be praised, on that same day, I left as a born-again child of the King. And for it must be 39, 40 years coming up, something like that.
Yes, uh-huh.
I've been fighting against the Illuminati, their plans for the New World Order, exposing their corruption in our governments around the world, speaking of the prophecies, everything. And, well, by the grace of God, I'm running a Christian ministry now. Now, the reason that happened was because once I left the military and I got saved, well, not even a year later, I was in a Christian university because I wanted to get my Christian education out.
Right.
I had my education in the Illuminati. Well, I went to, a med school in the United States Army. Well, I wanted Christian education now. And it was back in 81, I was a student at Louisiana Baptist University in Shreveport, Louisiana, class of 84. and they taught me so many things that I've carried with me all these decades. I'm not kidding. I mean, I really believe that the vast majority of who I am in my walk with the Lord is due to that incredible Christian education I got there.
It's wonderful. Now, tell folks about first of all, your website, and in brief, the series of films that you have produced through the years.
Okay, the website, it's very easy, ladies and gentlemen. Just go to www. Now, the rest of this is lowercase, no apostrophes. www. It's a God Thing Productions. Now, that's with an S. It's a God Thing Productions 777.com. Right now, I finished not too long ago a DVD series. It's 15 DVDs long. It's called The Secrets of the Illuminati, where we get into the actual heart of the Illuminati. I try to show everyone their plans, their secrets, what they've been up to, so on and so forth. And I've been working on a second DVD series. There's 4 already completed. It's called It's in the Bible. It's called the In the Bible series. You can look this stuff up on my website. But right now, David, I put the second series on hold temporarily because I really needed to do this next series I've been working on. It's called The Occult Takeover of the World, and then there's a colon, the Witnessing series.
Oh, great.
It's planned to be 14 to 15 DVDs long, but because of oh, you've got to be kidding. Hold on, let me get rid of this person. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Marquis?
Yes?
Hi, this is Anthony. I'm calling you, spoke to you yesterday regarding a windscreen hospital.
Okay, you're going to have to call back later. I'm doing a radio show right now.
All right, no problem.
All right, goodbye. Well, anyways, the first DVD I'm working on is called The Weirding Ways of Witchcraft. I originally thought it was going to be maybe about 3-4 hours long. It'll be, your standard 2 disc,
Yes.
In one pack. Well, I miscalculated by a mile. I'm working on the last section. I started yesterday. It'll take me probably the rest of the week. It's going to be about 7 hours long.
Wow. That sounds like about 4 DVDs.
Exactly. So I'm going to have to put it, like DVD 1, Volume 1, and then, DVD 2, Volume 2. And if this is how it ends for all of, the first 8, then you're looking at 16 plus at least 8 more. It could end up 24 DVDs long.
Wow. That'll keep you busy for another 6 months at least.
Oh, but it's so necessary because the prophecy of Revelation 18:23b teaches us that the entire world is going to be handed over to the Antichrist through the occult. And right now, people aren't even aware that there's a resurgence right now in the ancient occult religions greater now than all of recorded history.
Right.
And our brothers and sisters just don't know how to witness to these people.
Right.
Like with witches, how do you witness to a witch about Satan if they don't believe in Satan to begin with?
Uh-huh. Oh, amen.
Yeah,
Well, we'll have to reserve that conversation for the future once you start producing these new DVDs. Now, let me ask this. The Final Rapture. What if a person says, well, there's so many good books that have been written about the rapture over the years. Why did you feel led to write this book, and how is it perhaps unique or different from some of the others?
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up. I just received a letter from the president of my alma mater. He has a copy of my book and was reading it. And when he sent this letter back, he told me he doesn't really buy prophecy books hardly anymore because it's a rehash of everything he already knows. But he said when he read the first part, where we get into what makes a rapture, because people can't even answer that correctly. If we can't answer the basic questions correctly, we can't figure out if it's pre, mid, post, or pre-rap. Well, he told me in that letter that this was something he's never seen before, and he absolutely loved it. I'm
Great.
paraphrasing now, but he thought it was really, I mean, and on Amazon, where they're making, you make comments and such.
Yes,
I've had people on there telling me, this is something that they've never read before. I've had people email me, tell me that now they feel at peace with the future because of the book. Charisma House, which published my book, they told me the selling point for this book is because they've never seen an explanation like this on the rapture in their entire lives, and they said they can't understand why we've never seen this before.
Right. It's right there in front of our face.
But we don't see it, do we?
No, we don't. And what you have done is redirected the question of the rapture from what you have said, the pre-mid, post-trib, mid-trib, pre-wrath, and you've basically backed up and defined what a biblical rapture is and given examples of those raptures. And once you've done that, it's very clear what the biblical position is, that it's a pre-tribulational rapture.
Well, it's so obvious once you see the pattern, and it is immutable. As you once said, as God is immutable, this pattern, I'll tell you about, is immutable. You've read the book.
Right.
You've seen the pattern yourself. And when we look at the pattern, now this is not my teaching. This has been sitting right there in the Bible all along. I have nothing to do with this pattern, the way it's presented, the outcome, or anything. No, this is solely the Word of God. I don't put my 2 cents in. Right. I'm not interested in my 2 cents. God is only interested in speaking His truth. All I did was point out what's been in the Bible all along.
Our final question for today, before we move into next week, we'll be talking about section 2 of the book. What are the ingredients, if I can use that term, what are the elements that make up a biblical rapture?
Well, the big mistake people first make when they go to the rapture question is they don't understand what makes a rapture a rapture. I will usually ask, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've done this in presentations and other places. I'll ask my brothers and sisters, well, what is a rapture? And then they will tell me, well, it's when Christ is coming in the clouds to take us off the earth and into heaven. And I'm going, well, that's true. That's in the future. That's the prophecy. But you did not answer the question. I asked you, what is a rapture, not what is the next rapture.
Right.
And there's a big difference right there. Now, in order to understand what makes a rapture, the apostles, the only ones with the authority to make a doctrine, didn't even make it did not make the rapture a doctrine because it's too straightforward, too easy. The 3 hallmarks for a rapture is God physically removes those whom He declares to be righteous outside of His impending judgment. And that's it. God physically removes those whom He declares to be righteous outside of His impending judgment. How easy could that be?
How simple. Give us one biblical example of a rapture. I know you have several that you give, but just give one that demonstrates these hallmarks.
Well, because of lack of time, a quick example would be the events of Noah and the ark. We know that God was tired of man's sinful nature. It was just one evil thought after another, so He decided He was going to destroy the world and start over again. So He tells Noah to build an ark, and about 100 years later it's completed, and they're put into it, and everything is washed away. Now, go into those 3 hallmarks. Let's consider the first one. God physically removes. Now, Noah and his family were removed and put into the ark.
Yes.
Second, God physically removes those whom He declares to be righteous. In Genesis chapter 6, we find out Noah and his family was declared righteous before the Lord.
Yes.
And then the last part, outside of His impending judgment. Noah and his family were completely secured from the destruction of the earth. God's wrath being poured down and destroying everything, because God had already tucked them safely away in the ark with 9 of every type of animal.
Right.
So the 3 hallmarks were easily met there. God physically removes those whom he declares to be righteous outside of his impending judgment. Now, my question to you, David, is, did God deliver Noah and his family before, during, or after the rapture?
Oh, it was definitely before the judgment. The door
Yes.
closed before the first drop of rain fell upon the earth.
And they had to sit there for a week.
Right. Before the boat
Yeah.
began to float.
Right. And so you see, the point is, and you'll find this true in every single example of the Bible, God always delivers his kids outside of his judgment before he lowers the boom.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened here. It's a classic example.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, this has been a fascinating discussion, Doc. We're going to continue talking about your book next week. I appreciate your being with us.
My pleasure.
Let me just say a word about the book before we turn it over to our announcer. This book is 230 pages long. It has 16 chapters, as well as a preface and a wonderful foreword by Dr. Kevin Clarkson. And it is a unique book. It is a book that is solidly biblical. It draws true stories from throughout the Bible, such as Noah and the ark, the deliverance of Lot from the city of Sodom, and other biblical raptures that will make clear to you the pattern, the hallmarks of a biblical rapture. And friends, I'm sure you will want to have a copy of this unique and solidly biblical book for your personal study and for your Bible study group. And now our announcer, Dane Rome, will share how you can obtain a copy of The Final Rapture.
Thank you, Dr. Schnitker. You may obtain a copy of the brand new book, The Final Rapture, for a gift of only $15.99. To obtain your copy, simply go to the homepage of our website. That's www.swpm.us to find the book. The website address, again, is www.swpm.us. This 230-page book is available for your gift of $15.99. Well, please join us next week for another Last Days Beacon program, brought to you by Southwest Prophecy Ministries. And until then, this is Dane Rome saying thanks for listening.